All right, so I thought it might be interesting to share with you my iTunes setup. I'm very lucky in that I am working from home at the moment and I get to listen to music pretty much all day when I'm not in a meeting. I've got iTunes on. But I really like to have artwork as part of the listening experience. I mean, I used to buy vinyl. If you look at a vinyl record, I've bought albums just for the artwork. With iTunes though, since cover flow was removed, really the best you've got is this kind of this view of the artwork. But it's pretty tiny. I mean, it's even smaller than a CD. Now iTunes does have a mini player, so for a while I've been getting into the habit of having the mini player on my second screen on the laptop, but it's still pretty limited in size. So I've found this way of really maximizing the size of the artwork. So if you look here, I've got the artwork filling the height of my laptop screen. So this is basically how I'll work. I'll have my artwork on my second screen while I'm working in whatever software I'm using on my main monitor there. So we're going to have a look at how to set up that full screen artwork view. Now the starting point is using the mini player here. So if you're familiar with iTunes, and I should point out that this, as far as I know, is only available in iTunes, so not the new Apple Music app that's released in Catalina. But in iTunes, you're able to open the mini player view, and that's normally a toggle between this main window and the mini player view by clicking on this small artwork in the header. So that normally works as a toggle, so once I close that I can return to the main iTunes window. But if I open it through the window option here, and it's important that iTunes itself is not a full screen app. If it is full screen, then you'll see that these mini player options are disabled. So let me just first go to the normal iTunes main window. So now I can open, instead of using switch to mini player, I can choose mini player here, and that will open these two windows simultaneously. Now the mini player, for a while I was just using this on its own desktop like this on my second monitor, and that's quite nice. It's certainly a bigger artwork view than you see in iTunes main window, but it's still limited in size, and there's a few things that bug me. For example, if I expand out the up next queue, it doesn't really fit very nicely. So the solution will be getting to still uses this mini player, but just to show the up next queue and the playback controls, but not the artwork. So I'm going to turn off the artwork in the mini player and show the up next queue. Now if we go back to the main window, now there's this hidden kind of artwork view in iTunes, and this is what seems to have been removed in the Apple Music app in Catalina. If I hold down the command key while clicking on the small artwork, I get this other view, which hasn't worked. Let me go back to it. So holding down command, click. Yeah, there we go. It was on my other screen. So this is more like it. This is a nice big artwork view. I can resize it to fill the height of my screen. But it won't let me go into full screen. If I click on this, that would normally be the way to switch an app into full screen. Nothing happens at all. But there is a trick, because this artwork view can dock with an existing full screen app using the split screen functionality in macOS. So what we're going to do is go back to the iTunes main window, put this into full screen, and I'm going to use mission control. So on my keyboard, that's the F3 button, and this will show me all my windows. So I can see here are the components that I'm going to use. I want to have this big artwork view in full screen with my up next queue docked to the side of it. So let's start off with the full screen. So I'm going to actually initially dock this with the iTunes main window just by dragging it up to the top there. And this gives me, I'm halfway there. So I've got my artwork and I've got iTunes, but I don't want to have the iTunes main window there. So I'm going to switch that one back to a regular window by clicking on its green button. And then switch back to mission control again. And I'm going to drag in my mini player and dock that with my big artwork view. And when you first set this up, you might have to adjust the proportions a little bit by dragging here so that this is a nice square artwork shaped window. But this is basically the setup that I'm using. So this is now a full screen app, so I can use my full four finger swipe on my trackpad to switch between these views. Because this is a full screen view, I know that no other windows are going to start overlaying this window. And I've got access to my up next queue and even lyrics, so I can switch to my lyrics here while I'm listening. So that's basically my setup. A couple of tips, because we've got this nice big artwork view, which I'm looking at on my Retina screen on my MacBook. It's nice to have good quality, high resolution artwork. Now, if you're buying your music from the iTunes store, and I think with Apple Music as well, it will come already tagged with high quality artwork. If you need to re-tag your music, what I'm doing is stuff that I'll buy, for example, on Bandcamp. Often it comes already tagged with high resolution artwork. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll go back to the album, click the artwork here to show the high quality preview, and then I can right click here, copy image, go back to iTunes, select my tracks, and then there's a keyboard shortcut for this, which is Command I. I'm showing you here using the right click menu, get info, and from there I can switch to the artwork tab, click there and paste in the image. Stuff that maybe you've ripped from CD. Another way to get good quality artwork, apart from Bandcamp, is Ben Dodson has made this tool which will search the iTunes catalog. So I'll put this URL in the description. But basically, you can go to this, select album from this drop down. I think it defaults to TV show. So you'll first need to switch to album, type in a search term, and this will search the iTunes library, the main iTunes store. And from here you can open up the high resolution artwork and do the same process, copy image, switch back to iTunes and retag your audio files from there. Another nice thing I showed you, it can be nice to have your lyrics alongside your music. I think those will come with Apple Music if you're an Apple Music subscriber. I'm not, so I tend to tag my music manually. The tool that I like for that is this one, Get Lyrical. So This is a free tool. It's a nice little utility. Again, I'll put the link in the description. It's a nice utility for finding the lyrics and adding those to your tags in your iTunes library. A couple of alternatives to this setup. Like I mentioned, for a while I was just using the regular mini player. Another option which I was also using for a while is screen sleeves. So this was initially a screensaver for the Mac. It's now, since Mojave, it runs as a standalone app. And it gives you a similar sort of layout with a nice big artwork and the track title alongside and a progress bar. There's no lyrics. I believe there is a lyrics theme, but it's not quite as nice as having a scrolling view using the mini player. I was using this for a while. I actually then discovered, when I look at Activity Monitor, that it's constantly using about 12 to 15% of my CPU, even when iTunes is paused, and I'm not running the latest hardware here. So I've kind of moved away from this. Another option you could try is full cover, I believe it's called, which is another full covered, which is a little bit more CPU friendly, and you get the nice big full height artwork. I didn't like the aesthetics of this, the yellow text, and I think you can customize the typography to some extent. And this is maybe something to look at if you are running Catalina. But if not, it's up to you. There's a few options there. I hope this has been useful to you. If you enjoy artwork and you like to have that nice and full screen, especially up on your second display while you listen to your music in the background, then there's a few nice options here. So I hope you found this useful. If you have any similar tips or nice ways to get something similar up and running in Catalina, then please leave a comment for me. So thanks for watching.